Welcome back, everyone. POW Ponder Weather here. In this update, we've got a major storm with heavy snow and severe weather. Then much colder air enters the picture by the end of the month, heading into the first couple of days of February as a winter battle zone will start to take shape as things get interesting. So let's take a look at the overall setup for today over the next 48 hours because there's the storm. Man, we got winter weather advisories, winter storm watches, and warnings extending all the way from New Mexico, extending all the way to Maine. This is a significant storm system with heavier snows in its path where that upper level low is. But further to the south in the warm sector, it's all about the severe weather and the very high winds. And then the severe weather threat is along the coast there into the I-10 corridor with some enhanced risk for severe storms as well as some strong tornadoes potential as we get deep into the afternoon into the early evening time frame. But yeah, there's your winter storm impacts. We've got minor to moderate impacts really extending from Texas all the way to Maine. So this is a pretty significant storm system over the next 48 hours in the cold sector where that upper level low is. And further south, it's all about the heavier, chillier rains in Texas and the severe threat as you extend into the southeast. And there is your severe threat. Pretty rare to see this in January. I mean, this is like the fourth week in a row. I mean, this is, fourth week in a row we've been dealing with an enhanced risk down here in these regions. But this one's pretty long, extending from Victoria all the way up into the Florida Panhandle, really elongated along the I-10 corridor. We could be seeing some larger hail with this, like in the Galveston area down into Victoria, but definitely some damaging winds. These areas in yellow, we could be looking at some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Those areas in red, more likely about 70 miles an hour, but definitely some tornadoes potential as well, if not strong tornadoes, really extending from Victoria all the way into the Florida Panhandle. So you definitely got to be high alert as we get deeper into the afternoon, into the early evening time frame. So if you are new to the channel and like detailed weather breakdowns on North America, hit the subscribe button and you're in. You get all my daily reports on this channel. And it's also important to hit the like button as well. It definitely helps out more than you know. So, but I'm also starting a second channel. This is going to be called POW Ponder Ultra. This one's going to be more like confined around, short range weather analysis, but also educational content as well. I've had a lot of requests for more educational content, to upload, and I'll be doing that on this channel probably starting next week. So if you can go and hit the subscribe button on this channel as well, I'll definitely be putting a link below so you can make it easier to find to subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading content on this channel starting next week. So, but yesterday we did a giveaway of one of these Weatherflow Tempest weather stations, and I did a random drawing before, and the winner of this Weatherflow Tempest weather station is Jack Speedbutton. So Jack Speedbutton, if you're out there, you are the winner of this Weatherflow weather station. You need to email me at ponderonweather@gmail.com so I can ship it to you. And I'll type it in the, pin the post below as well. So definitely email me so I can ship this Tempest weather station. So congrats, I appreciate you supporting the channel. So let's zoom into this winter storm, because man, we've already had some impressive amounts out here in West Texas. I already looked at some of these reports. We're already at 7 to 8 inches in some of these areas out in West Texas, and it's still heavy snow, but it's all about the chillier rain further south into Dallas, into Waco, and back into Austin, back into San Antonio, into the Houston Metroplex. That rain is really locked over Shreveport this morning into the Texarkana area. So definitely as we get into, say, the 2-3 o'clock time frame, some of these definitely are going to be on the severe side with those damaging winds, and that isolated tornado threat is definitely not out of the realm of possibility. And that's why they do have that enhanced risk and the strong tornado potential down there, as we've got a very active system moving across. But as we get into the 7 o'clock time frame, we can see the snow threat really starting to take shape. Now it's going to be over Oklahoma. Oklahoma City could be picking up 4 to 6 inches easily of snow from this system. Wichita Falls, some of these areas are definitely going to be overperforming. I felt like, out West Texas already overperforming. It's still snowing, and you look, it's still snowing even by 7 o'clock. So it's got a lot more to add to those totals. And there's the severe threat further south as it will be moving across into the southeast. So now, as we get into the 7 o'clock time frame, it's going to be elongated over Lake Charles area, into the Baton Rouge area, possibly into the New Orleans area, and points northbound. Notice in Memphis, it's all about rain into Jonesboro, but further to the northwest, that's where the snow is going to be flying, and a good part of Arkansas. So if we look at the tornado parameters, this is why they do have the strong risk for tornadoes today, because these are pretty elevated, especially along the coast there. So looking at right along the I-10 corridor, so definitely be on high alert. If you're a truck driver out there, if you can take I-20, that would be the most advisable way to go, because you'll be kind of splitting the uprights with that snowstorm further north and the severe weather threat further south. So I-20 is the way to go if you got to head westbound today. So, but yeah, here's the snow threat as we head into the overnight hours. So it's going to be out of Texas. It's going to be done in Texas. It's almost going to be done in Oklahoma, but it's all going to be locked over portions of Missouri and Illinois by then, and to Indiana, getting into Ohio. But further south, it's just got that squall line that's going to be moving out into the overnight hours with a damaging wind threat. That will be, extending into the day on your Wednesday time frame, and that's where the severe threat will be, with that slight risk for storms. So not as intense as what you're seeing today, but definitely could be a bumpy ride into the Florida Panhandle, into the Atlanta area, portions of Savannah, down into portions of North Carolina, and along the coast there in Virginia. Not really a hell threat with this particular system, but definitely a damaging wind threat for sure. And you always have to be on high alert of an isolated tornado coming out of that, that leading edge of that squall line that will be moving across. But there's the setup by, let's say, 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, where the rain will be coming out of the Atlanta area, getting into portions along the coast here with that heavier rainfall. But look what the snow is. It's going to be flying pretty fast and really snowing by then into portions of Michigan. That'll extend into portions of upstate New York, eventually getting into Vermont and New Hampshire, and then eventually heading up into the Maine area. But there's the winds over the next 48 hours with this particular system. Notice along the coast with the darker reds, that's where we could be picking up the most significant wind gusts, and that's why they've got the severe threat in place. But definitely where the warm sector is and where the rain's going to be, that's where the higher winds are going to be, to the southeast of that low pressure center. So definitely be on high alert, as it's going to be a windy ride. And that's why they got so many numerous wind advisories in place. But there's your snow swath. Like I mentioned, it's already snowed about 7 or 8 inches out there in West Texas. You're going to be adding to these totals, and some of these can be pretty impressive right along that center where that upper level low will be traversing across. So notice a sharp gradient where you basically get nothing. You could be looking at 8 to 10 inches just 100 or 200 miles away. So that's the system that we're dealing with just the heavier rains to the south side, and then the heavier snows right along that center where that upper level low will be traversing across over the next 48 hours. But there's the rain, and we could be picking up some healthier rains. That's why they've got that slight risk for excessive rainfall down here point southbound in and around East Texas into Louisiana. They desperately need the rain in Texas. I mean, they've been bone dry for about a month now, so there's no question this is definitely welcome rain for them for a good part, especially the western and central regions, and North Texas. It's been well over a month since they actually even seen any measurable rainfall down there. So definitely a welcome sight. But what's going to happen after this? So after that system moves out, we start to set the stage going into the end of the month. So we start to see ridging starting to build over Alaska again. Those warmer, warmer than average conditions moving back for them. Typically, when you start to see warmer than average in Alaska, that sets the trough up underneath and sets the colder temperatures into the United States. And that's exactly what we'll see. We talked about the polar vortex being stretched out, being elongated, being disrupted. That's exactly what's going to happen. So finally, that Arctic air is coming out of the Arctic. It's coming out of Greenland here, moving into Canada by the time we get into Friday. So yes, by the time we head into this weekend on Saturday, there's the temperatures. You can start to really see where that polar vortex is up there in Canada by now. Well below zero up here in Canada, if not 30 below zero. And you start getting those minus 27 degrees, wind chills are going to be minus 40 below zero, coming up on into the Dakotas and to Minnesota. So we start to see that dangerously cold air mass, and that will slowly shift southbound as we get deeper towards the end of the month, heading into the first couple of days of February, as we'll have this southeast ridge kind of fighting it every step of the way. And I think that's where the winter battle zone is going to be starting to take shape. So, but overall, the Arctic air is going to be continuing to press south. So eventually it's going to be winning itself out. But in the meantime, it's going to be having that winter battle zone that's going to be unfolding, because we look at the EPO guidance, it's got it negative really from now really through the first week of February. So predominantly we're going to be colder, and it's going to be a step down process to get colder as we get deeper into the month. So there's the 29th. So here's the Arctic air. You can start to see the Arctic intrusion really starting to build out of Canada, now dropping southbound into the US. So there's the there's the southeast ridge, right? So it's going to be fighting this every step of the way as it plunges southbound. And that's exactly what the Climate Prediction Center essentially has, as warmer conditions build over Alaska, warmer conditions stay really along the edge of the southeast as we got that true Arctic air plunging southbound. So we're going to be having a kind of a battle zone. What that basically means is we've got warm winds, warm south winds, right? Cold air pressing. Typically we get overrunning conditions, and we're probably going to have some icy, messy setups as this Arctic air will continue to press as we get deeper into the last couple of days of January, heading into the first couple of days of February. You can start to see what's on the Climate Prediction Center is dry right now in California, but I do feel the rains do come back. So we start to see above average rain starting to enter the picture from the January 29th through the February 2nd timeframe, as we'll start to see above average, precipitation essentially from East Texas down into the southeast through Tennessee and through Kentucky here. So yes, as that Arctic air will press, we'll have like a winter battle zones, showing up in these regions, and probably have some icy setups, especially if you take a look at the overall jet stream as we say get into February 3rd, as the Arctic air will continue to press. So I think eventually it's going to win itself out. So when you got low pressures showing up further south underneath, especially into Mexico, that tells you not only Arctic air is going to be plunging southbound, but we've got ample amount of lift associated with it as well. So that's why I feel like we'll be watching these areas for some icy definitely setups as we get into those first couple of days of February. But definitely the Arctic air is coming. Here's the latest ensemble guidance, by the 5th of the month. Here's the Canadian guidance, shows that Arctic air, I think by then, for a good part of the southeast ridge, is going to be finally losing its battle. And eventually the Arctic air is going to be winning over, and much of the United States is going to be well below average, if not into that Arctic air mass, as we're going to be dealing with that very cold conditions across a good chunk of the country, especially across the north central states through portions of Iowa into Illinois, where they kind of take the brunt of it. So hey guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch me in the next update where I protect you for in the storm.